You finally catch the queen. After days of waiting, flying, and pretending your enormous eyes count as a personality, you reach her in midair. You mate. Your reproductive organ turns inside out with explosive force. Part of it remains attached to the queen. Your abdomen is fatally torn open. You fall away from her and die shortly afterward. Congratulations. This is the closest you will ever come to becoming king. The queen keeps flying. Another male catches her, then another, and another. By the time she returns to the hive, she may have mated with roughly a dozen or more drones. She carries their sperm inside a storage organ called the spermatheca and can use it for years. You contributed genetic material for a few seconds. She contributed continued existence. So why does a honeybee colony have a queen but no king? At first, the missing position seems strange. Other social insects have kings. In many termite species, a male and female establish a colony together. The termite king stays with the queen, mates with her repeatedly, and may remain beside her for years. Nature is perfectly capable of producing a royal insect couple. It simply looked at honeybees and decided the male role required more falling. To understand why, first remove the crown from the queen. She is not a queen in the human sense. She does not sit on a throne, write laws, command armies, or order workers to build a tiny dungeon beneath the honey. She is called the queen because she is the colony's main egg-laying female. That is her royal power. Eggs, potentially thousands of them. The workers handle nearly everything else. They build comb, clean cells, feed larvae, store food, defend the entrance, regulate temperature, remove waste, scout flowers, communicate through dances, and decide when the colony needs a replacement queen. They feed and groom the queen, but they also control her diet and monitor her performance. Before swarming, workers may reduce her food so she becomes light enough to fly. If she weakens or stops producing properly, they can begin raising another queen. She is not an absolute monarch. She is a highly valuable reproductive machine managed by several thousand sisters. You, meanwhile, hatch with a very different resume. You are a drone. You are larger and broader than a worker. Your eyes are huge because your entire adult career depends on spotting a queen in flight. You have no stinger. You do not gather nectar or pollen. You do not produce wax. You do not clean brood cells or defend the entrance. This seems like excellent preparation for executive leadership. It is not. Your main biological purpose is to leave the hive, join a gathering of other drones, chase a young queen, and attempt to mate with her. Most drones never succeed. Some fail to find a queen. Some cannot catch her. Some become food for birds. Some burn through their energy and return to the hive, carrying nothing except the memory of being rejected several meters above the ground. But suppose you win. You already know what happens. Your mating organ everts. Semen is transferred. Part of the organ may remain temporarily as a mating sign. Separation causes catastrophic damage to your abdomen, and your successful reproductive career ends almost immediately. Your reward for completing your only major task is death. The queen continues mating because one drone is not enough. Multiple partners give her sperm from many different fathers. She stores only a portion of it, but that stored supply can fertilize eggs for much of her life. This is the first major reason there is no king bee. She does not need a permanent mate. A termite queen in many species continues reproducing with a living king throughout the colony's life. A honeybee queen performs her mating flights early, stores sperm, and then returns home to lay eggs. Keeping you alive beside her would be like storing an entire delivery truck in the kitchen because it once brought a useful package. But let us give you a chance. Imagine your abdomen is reinforced with biological steel. You mate and survive. Instead of falling out of the sky, you follow the queen back to the hive, walk through the entrance, and announce that the colony now has a royal couple. The workers stare at you. Perhaps you can continue mating with the queen. Unfortunately, honeybee mating is specialized for flight, and the queen has already stored enough sperm to continue laying fertilized eggs without your assistance. Perhaps you can protect her. The workers can sting, bite, surround intruders, regulate heat, and mobilize by the thousands. You have giant eyes and a strong belief in yourself. Perhaps you can advise the colony. The workers already make collective decisions using local information, pheromones, dances, and repeated interactions. No single bee understands the whole colony, yet the system still finds food, manages brood, controls temperature, and chooses new nest sites. Your strategic contribution would mostly involve standing near the honey. Perhaps you could at least remain as a ceremonial king. The colony would still have to support you. During warm, productive months, colonies can afford to maintain many drones because some may mate with queens from other colonies and spread the colony's genes. But a permanent male who no longer needs to mate is simply another mouth-consuming stored resources. When food becomes scarce or winter approaches in temperate regions, workers often push drones away from food, drag them toward the entrance, and expel them from the hive. Your palace includes seasonal layoffs. Even with an indestructible abdomen, your kingship is already struggling. Then honeybee genetics arrives and removes the throne completely. Humans usually receive one chromosome set from the mother and one from the father. Female honeybees follow a roughly similar pattern. A fertilized egg receives chromosomes from the queen and from a drone. It normally develops into a diploid female with two chromosome sets. A male honeybee usually develops from an unfertilized egg. No sperm enters the egg. No father contributes DNA. The queen lays the egg, and it develops with only her chromosome set, producing a haploid drone. That means you have a mother but no father. Your family tree begins with an empty chair. It also means you cannot father a normal son. Any ordinary offspring carrying your genes develops from a fertilized egg and is therefore female. You can have daughters. You cannot produce a prince. Your dream of starting a father-to-son royal dynasty has lasted approximately one genetics lesson. The situation becomes even stranger because you are haploid. You carry only one version of each chromosome, so your sperm passes essentially your entire genome to every daughter you father. The queen contributes a shuffled half of her genes. You contribute the same paternal package again and again. If one drone fathered nearly every worker in a colony, those daughters would be extremely similar on their father's side. That sounds efficient until a parasite, pathogen, or environmental stress discovers the weakness shared by that family. A honeybee colony survives through thousands of workers performing different jobs under changing conditions. Genetic variety gives the colony more possible responses. Different paternal families can vary in disease resistance, brood care, foraging behavior, temperature regulation, and the age at which workers begin certain tasks. One group may struggle against a pathogen while another handles it better. One lineage may respond quickly to one job while another becomes useful somewhere else. The queen's multiple mating is not romantic confusion. It is risk management. Instead of building the entire workforce from one father's genetic template, the colony receives a mixed portfolio. You want it to become the sole father of the hive. The hive prefers not to invest everything in one enthusiastic flying sausage. There is also a more technical trap. Honeybees use a system called complementary sex determination. A fertilized egg normally becomes female when it carries two different versions of an important sex-determining gene. If the versions match, the fertilized egg may develop into a diploid male. This male has two chromosome sets, but he is usually a poor reproductive investment. Workers commonly detect and remove diploid male larvae. The colony does not celebrate the arrival of an unexpected prince. It quietly deletes the file. The risk of producing diploid males rises when parents are too genetically similar. Mating with multiple, unrelated drones helps spread that risk and supports genetic diversity. A permanent royal pair producing generation after generation inside one closed line would be a terrible long-term plan. So every possible route to kingship fails. You cannot rule because the colony is not organized around a ruler. You are not needed as a permanent mate because the queen stores sperm. You cannot create a father-to-son dynasty because males come from unfertilized eggs. You are a poor choice as the colony's only father because genetic diversity is valuable. You cannot justify staying as a ceremonial male because the colony has to spend resources supporting you. And when you successfully complete the one task evolution gave you, you die before anyone can prepare the crown. But perhaps the biggest mistake is imagining the hive as a kingdom at all. A honeybee colony behaves more like a superorganism. The queen functions as the primary reproductive organ. Workers act like muscles, sensory systems, builders, nurses, defenders, food processors, ventilation equipment, and immune responses. Drones act like mobile packets of genetic material sent into the outside world. No single bee runs everything. The queen cannot survive without workers. She cannot build comb, collect food, defend the nest, care for thousands of larvae, or maintain brood temperature by herself. Workers also depend on the colony. Most do not reproduce directly. Their individual survival matters less than keeping the larger system alive. Even decisions that look as though they require a leader can emerge from collective behavior. When a swarm searches for a new home, scout bees inspect possible sites and return to advertise them through dances. Other scouts visit those locations and add or withdraw support. Over time, the colony moves toward a shared decision. The queen does not select the address. She is transported to it. Humans saw one large female surrounded by attendants and called her a queen. Then we saw large males doing almost no visible work and assumed one of them should be king. Nature had created something much less glamorous. The queen is an egg-laying specialist under worker supervision. The workers are mostly sterile sisters, keeping the entire system alive. The drones are seasonal reproductive vehicles designed to leave the hive, search the sky, and gamble everything on one successful transfer of genes. And you are still standing at the entrance, trying to explain that your giant eyes qualify you for senior management. They do not. If you fail to mate, you return hungry. If you keep failing, Winter may end your housing arrangement. If you succeed, your abdomen is destroyed and you fall out of the sky. But your genes may continue through generations of daughters inside another colony. That is your legacy. No throne, no crown, no royal chamber. Just one dangerous delivery. There are no king bees because a king would solve a problem the hive does not have. The queen does not need a permanent husband. The workers do not need a male ruler. The colony does not need your advice. Evolution has already assigned you a position. You are not the king. You are the one-use biological USB drive of the insect world, and after the data transfer, nature safely ejects you.